TV.
All right. Hey, welcome back. Hey, it's Brother Brian and Brother Marcus each and every week here on 106.7 FM KIEZ. And now we are the voice of the community. Hey, good morning, Brother Marcus. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm wonderful. Can't complain, man.
You can't not, or you choose not to.
Well, I can't complain, and I choose not to, because I mean, hey, he who complains can't move forward. So I'm moving forward, man. I'm not complaining about nothing. Dealing with the issues at hand, pushing forward with results and trying to change my condition. So hey, it is what it is.
All right. You're definitely not going to allow anything to grow up under your feet because you're moving and shaking. They call that friction, making things happen.
Right.
Hey, once again, I want to thank everyone for listening in again. Listening in on us this week. Last week, we spoke about several different topics. This week, we're going to try to get a little bit more in depth to what's taking place in our communities, locally, regionally, and definitely nationally. Well, Brother Marcus, each and every week we come to the round table. We come down to break down what's going on in our communities. But more so, I think in our community, we need some motivation. We need some uplifting because we at a state where we're sitting at the table this week and we're indulging on a lot of fat, a lot of sweets, and we become lethargic. As you were saying, you're not going to wait around. You're going to make something happen. And that's what we got to do. We come to the round table so we can E-A-T.
Yes, sir. EAT for us means evaluate all things. And when you evaluating all things, you can't be lethargic or slow moving. You got to be fast forward and pushing, so you can see what's really going on. So EAT for us means evaluate all things.
And that's what it does. Evaluate all things. Brother Marcus, this week, the governor announced, or at the end of last week, the governor announced that, hey, the stay-at-home order or the shelter in place has been extended for a few more days. We're talking about May 15th. And so now individuals that were adhering to this order is going to continue for a few more days. And at that point, we have to sit back and EAT, find out, what is our next move? What can we do for ourselves, our family, and our community? How are you quarantining over there?
Man, I'm quarantining. I'm working, B. I'm not just sitting down. I'm working every day. I'm seeing what's going on inside of my community right here in VA. I'm in Virginia, Portsmouth, Virginia, and we building houses, so we working every day, and we call essential. So the people that's in Monroe, Louisiana, should be, figuring out what's going on, because some of them are essential too. So you got to keep on working. I ain't sitting down on my hands. I'm moving and trying to make things work, because I mean, society's gonna have to continue to go on. So I'm just laid back, man, and trying to figure it out. Like all the governors across the country in the 50 states are trying to put their economies back together, or put their states or cities back together, but they announcing it a little at a time. Each state saying that they gonna release certain things a little at a time. So when they get released, you got to be prepared. So I'm just sitting back waiting to be prepared to get implemented back into society, however it's going to be.
And that's what we have to do. I mean, you're exactly right. Implementation is the key. And prior to implementing, we have to have a plan that we can implement. And you're right. The governors, now we're taking that from a macro level on a state governmental body, but the governors are sitting back trying to figure out how can we reopen this economy. But everything is built upon the micro level. So you and I, each family, each household has to have their own individual plan also. The next step, what do we implement? The next step, where do we go? The next step, how do we pay this off? Or how do we budget for this? Or how do we downsize this? So we can continue on. And that's the challenge. No matter what the governor says about the crowd sizes, or we cannot gather here, or limitations, we have to be self-disciplined and say, hey, this is what we have to do as a family. And I believe that's where we fall shy at in our community as a family. We don't have a plan, brother.
Oh yeah, I mean, the whole country don't have a plan. That's why they implementing things a little at a time. The Governor Edwards, he waiting on what's going to happen up top. From state to state, they waiting to see what's going to be able to be opened up, what jobs they're going to consider essential. But for us, we got to figure out how we become essential, how we sit down at the table and say, okay, all right, I got 3 wage workers in the house, and we got income of this much coming in. We need to figure out how we're going to pay our bills and how we're going to save some of this money to be able to move forward in the next few months that's to come. Because they might extend this thing for another 3 or 4 months. They don't know. They scared. Then they got the whole world afraid. So when you're afraid, you don't know what to do. I'm scared to move forward with starting a new business. Right now, you can't even start a new business. And whatever's in your head that you think you can create, you can't even start it because from the state level it's closed down. So you got to figure out what you're gonna do with the things that you have in your hand right now. I seen a little company, a black company. We talked about selling masks. A little black company started, making their own masks to sell. Now, okay, that's cool. Now, what else is next? You got to figure it out, and that's the hard part. Sitting down at the table, like you and I doing right now. We sitting at the round table talking about what's happening with COVID-19. Everybody else, just going along with what's going on in the news and saying, okay, this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna do it. If the governor don't announce it, we don't know what to do. Saying, man, my job is gone. My mortgage is due. What you gonna do, man? How you gonna figure it out? I mean, a lot of people gonna lose a lot of things out of this particular COVID-19 thing because, again, a lot of people have died, but a lot more have died with just a common flu. So how do you shut the whole economy down with something that's been pushing you forward for the last umpteen years, and you say, oh, all of a sudden I got no income coming in? That's crazy.
Yeah, it does get it right. I mean, when you say crazy, it gets to a state of uncertainty, and that uncertainty puts us in a position of making irrational decisions. And so we got to get to a point where we have to know where we are. We have to understand who are the players on our team, and through that's how we can overcome this situation. So right now, it goes back to the basics. You mentioned about what's essential, what's non-essential. It gets back to the basics again. What food, shelter, clothing.
Yeah.
Those 3 are vital in anyone's life. So we got to ask ourselves, where do we get food? Even this week, I went out to the food bank, grabbed me a basket.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, and guess what was it? Well, I guess, but let me tell you what was in there. There was some canned goods, but more so a big old bag of rice, a big old bag of lentil beans, and split peas. So the community is reaching out, but now it's up to us. And so what I went and did to play my part moving forward, I'm going to start growing me some tomatoes, mushrooms, things like that, things that I eat on a regular basis, because I'm like you, 3 to 4 months, we do not know what's going to take place. But the only thing I do know is that food, shelter, clothing is a necessity.
Oh, yeah, it's a necessity, and that's the whole key, man. We got to figure out what's a necessity. I can live off $5 a day because I will eat 1 meal a day. So beans, rice. A bag of rice costs 89 cents. A bag of beans costs 89 cents or $1. So and a tomato. I can cut that up and some onion. I can eat that for 3 days, man. 3 to 4 days.
Where's your meat at?
I don't need any meat. I put the meat is green vegetable. Like I put some broccoli in my bean soup, or some bell pepper. Eat some spinach. All of these are foods that you can actually utilize to gain all the nutrition that you need to sustain your body or to sustain your livelihood. You don't have to have meat every day. You don't have to have no steak, no chicken every day to survive. There's some stuff that America has put in their diet. We got a SAD diet in America. A standard American diet is called SAD. So we eat all this bull crap, cookies, potato chips, candy every day. So, and we end up ultimately with obesity, which is, cause all kind of health issues. That's why this COVID-19 is affecting a lot of people because of their health. The health issues is terrible. The things that they eat, how we eat controls everything in our body. So if we eating bad, we ultimately gonna fall victim to the COVID-19 or any other illnesses that may occur in our life. So we got to figure out what we're gonna do and how we're gonna do it. Like I say, the essential stuff is what we need to figure out what we're gonna eat, how we're gonna eat. But our thing is we panicking because we don't have no money saved. We don't know where we're gonna get our next meal from. The food banks don't have enough food to provide for 50 to 60,000 people in one city. You know what I mean? I'm talking about shut down. And they just give you a bag of rice, some beans, some split peas, some canned goods. Most of these canned goods been donated to them from years ago or months ago from people that just cleaning out their cabinets, But I mean, we got to figure out, how we're gonna survive for a period of 6 to 7 months, maybe a few years. Like you say, plant your garden in your backyard. Most of us don't even have nowhere to plant a garden at because we don't have our own homes. So we stand in an apartment. Or you gonna plant a garden at an apartment? You got to figure that out yourself. So I mean, in this time of panic or pandemics, we got to figure how we're gonna move forward with the rest of our lives or with our livelihood.
Yeah, P and P, pandemic versus panic. So hey, as we talking about where we're gonna move forward, essential versus non-essential, food, shelter, clothing, and like you said, the governments are considering reopening, and we as a community, as a small family, we are considering reopening. We got to ask ourselves, how do I reopen? So now we got to get to the stages of how do we evolve from this, because this illness will be around for a period of time to the day we no longer exist. So we got to ask ourselves, how do we adapt? How do we evolve? What are the next essential businesses where we can offer a service, a product? Because I'm seeing people on social media, and I'm just thinking quickly, you can create a job being a social media manager, going out promoting businesses, promoting activity through what we currently use right now. I think we're dropping the ball, or we don't want to put in the work to roll the ball down that new pathway to what's going to take place. President Obama has said years ago, we have to get to the point where we compete globally, no longer competing against our next door neighbor. We have to be able to compete globally.
But the governors of America have to open up the economies back up so we can figure out what kind of jobs that we can create. If the economies are shut down, nobody's making anything, no new businesses are being created. We don't know what kind of business that we can start. Social media advertising, that's probably good, but how do you provide a job for 20 to 30,000 people?
Just the same way we've been doing our entire lives in our direct urban community. We cook in the home, we barter. I wash your car, or you wash my house, or you iron my clothes. We getting that back to the basics: food, shelter, clothing, and we got to keep in there. We don't need nothing. The cash that flows in the hand. We got to create a barter system.
Oh yeah, we can create a barter system, but we got to do something. So, but I mean, again, if everybody's in panic mode, they fearful, so they not coming outside.
No, they coming outside, buddy.
Yeah, they coming outside just to hang out, but coming outside to go to a job is two different things. And man, if you ain't got no money in your account, and these people talking about they just giving you a stimulus check, and gave you a stimulus check for $1,200. You know how much that can cover? That covers very, very little. $1,200, $600 rent, $300 light bill, water, gas. That $1,200 is gone. You don't even have enough money to feed yourself. You can even go to a grocery store. You see what I'm saying? Then I'm not working. Okay, 16 million people filing for unemployment. Some of the people hadn't even got their unemployment checks yet. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So It's a lot of things going on in this panic or this pandemic. There's a lot of things going on. So we got to figure out what's the next move. Open up the economy. Common people die from every day from common cold. We got to open up the economy. Regardless of what's happening, people are dying. Yeah, true. Now let's find a cure for this illness. It's people die every day from cancer. But we not shutting down the economy. We're not shutting down the banking system. And you can't even go into the bank that you deal with right now. Whatever bank that you deal with, you can't even get inside of it. To be able to do any kind of transaction, you got to do everything online. And some of the things being shut down online because you don't have your access codes to get the transaction taken care of. You got to go sit down in front of your personal banker or somebody that's inside the institution that says, okay, you do this, this, and this, and you can make this transaction happen. You see? So, but if that's not taking place, then we just sitting at a standstill. We're waiting till Governor Edwards and every other governor open back up the economy. The essential people getting on with the business, the essential, the Burger Kings, the McDonald's, they calling these people essential. They selling burgers, but in a few minutes, ain't nobody gonna have enough money to be able to go purchase no Taco Bell or no McDonald's or no Burger King because the money is running slim.
Yeah, you make a point in regards to that. Without a recurring source of revenue, without us recirculating that dollar, where will we be in the next 30, 60, 90, 180 days? I agree with that. However, that's why we must have a plan starting today. What do we do? How can we do it? We as a community must get to the state of being innovative. Yeah, you're right, Brother Mark. We no longer can just go and sit down and go inside the bank and sit down and talk to the bank. Everything is done like what we're doing now, video. Or you go through the drive-through, or you sign things electronically now. That's where we are. I don't think we should get caught up on what we cannot do. We got to get to the point what we can do and how we can make it a smoother, a more efficient system. And so what can we do? I know I need a haircut right now. Now, how can we overcome that?
They not letting the barbers come out. They saying, "Oh, you're not essential." They shut their whole business down immediately. Yeah. The nail techs, the barbers, they shut them down immediately. They hadn't opened them back up yet. But this is you got to be groomed in order to look the part. But the whole world, you seen P. Diddy, huh? He got a full beard. This dude look like an old man. You see what I'm saying? But because the government has shut down, the people saying, man, I ain't doing nothing. Then they scare you, say, oh yeah, the barber that went out and took his business on the road. He went to somebody's house and cut somebody's head. He just died yesterday. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Now the people saying, nah, I can't let the barber come over to my house. I got to have the mask on and the glove. It's still all panic, People gonna die in this situation, but we got to figure that out along the way. Like the people dying with cancer, the people dying with common cold. We got to figure this stuff out along the way. We got to keep on moving with our program. The program has been this way for a long period of time. We can't keep doing everything over video conference. We got to start touching each other in some shape, form, or fashion. We can't keep doing this. It ain't gonna work. Eventually, this gonna get overloaded, and ain't that many transactions gonna be able to take place. Zoom can hold it only so many people on a frequency at a time. So we got to figure out what's the next move, because the next move is our most valuable move. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. COVID-19 almost seems like a game, like they taking off some pieces of, like playing chess, taking off some of the pawns. They're putting them over to the side. They talking about it. They ruin, it's ruined, but what are you doing about it? And then most of the tests that they running, they coming back that everybody's positive. You know what I'm saying? Oh, asymptomatic. We got to understand what all this stuff is. When you look at that, when you look at all this stuff that's happening, it's like, wow, man, what kind of game are these people playing? But it's really not a game, it's life. So life gonna change every day. Whatever happens in your life, you got to figure out the next move to it. So this stuff is happening. We got these. I'm gonna say, I got to say it. I'm gonna say it how I said. We got these Europeans that's controlling our destiny or controlling everything that's going on with us. They the ones that's getting us the information. Where you and I as doctors talking about the COVID-19 situation, talking about our economic condition and how we move forward. Who growing beans and rice that's from in the black community? Who growing vegetables? Where the cauliflower, where the broccoli is coming from? It just can't come out of our backyard because it's got to be bigger than that. You see what I'm saying?
Mass produce.
Yeah, who gonna produce this stuff? You know, where are our farms at? We don't even want to be on the farm talking about having no food supply. We waiting on somebody else to give us food. We still begging from the master's table. We can't do that today. What's the agenda? We don't have them because we not talking. We in panic mode. We not sitting down going over a particular plan that say, okay, Brian is growing beans in California. Let's go there and pack up all his beans and do everything that we need to do to package this product and get it out to the people. Marcus is growing tomatoes in Atlanta, somewhere, wherever. You know, let's go help him get his harvest, his crop, and put it on the market so we can distribute it and ship it out to other places. But we're not talking like that. So we don't have a plan. We're waiting on their plan. Their plan is they don't know. So what we gonna do?
So once again, we gotta get to the point where we focus as a smaller community, which evolves to a mid-sized community, to a larger community. What do we do moving forward to open up our own economy? An economy is a state of trading, a state of buying in a certain specific area. So now look at how people that are dealing with death itself at funeral homes. So now everything's through video. As you mentioned, the banking system. I mean, everything we're doing, travel, communicating with one another, everything is being done through video. The question is once again, how do we get to the state where we can actually start creating a recurring source of revenue? Because once we determine that, then we got to get to the state of a budget. What is a budget? How do we budget? Then we got to get to the state of emergency fund. Then we have to get to the state of, I know you mentioned this before in some past shows, a family savings plan. So there's so many avenues that we have to address, have to attack, and create a strategic plan, because this is just a distraction. There's something else to come in the near future, and it's called survival. I know Lil Boosie said, he was on an interview with the Breakfast Club, and they said, well, Boosie, you can't be going out because people are dying. Boosie said, hey, people are surviving too. And that's where we got to get to the state. We got to get to the state. You mentioned that people are dying of many different viral infections. That is true. This one here does spread very fast. It's killing a lot of people. But two, the question is, that to me, that's the negative. It's a fact. It's a true in our lives. But how do we survive, leave a legacy from generation to generation? That's what we got to get to.
Now we keep on waiting. We won't have no generation to generation. We got to figure out a plan. You know, they had a plan. They plan was to throw money out there. They did $2.2 trillion, but they gave it to small businesses, SBAs or whatever. But here we are. We small businesses. We ain't get a dime of that money. You know, their banking systems got the money. We want to make up 21 black-owned banks in America. Period. You get what I'm saying? And those institutions in different cities and states, they didn't get none of the money, allocated money, to be able to provide for their states or that wherever system their banking reside in. They ain't get any of the money. So we have to look at who got the money. The big Chase Bank, Bank of America. Man, these people got real branches. Chase Bank got 6,100 branches, man. They got over 16,000 ATM machines. Man, these people are really doing big business. So these are the people that's getting the money. The small businesses got the money, for McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, all these different businesses. The Walmarts of America. All these people got money and got funding. They got their little workers working, but they got some income that went directly into their pockets. So they waiting on everybody to pass or to die off. And now that they're gonna have the funding and the money to keep on continuing going on with their legacies or their lives. But we got to figure out what's gonna happen with us. How do these people distribute the money and then not give us any of the money? You know, we got a small portion of that money. Man, if you got a small business, they should have gave that money to the different states. It's 50 states, right? And to start a business, you have to register in your state, whatever state you're in. You have to register your business in that particular state. Now, if it's active and if it's in good standing and doing business, they should have gave that money to the state and let them distribute it to the different businesses that's in their state and allocate them so much money to be able to keep on moving forward with their businesses. Barbershops closed down, no money coming in. Okay, you register in the state. You pay money to the barber board every month, or every quarter. You pay money. You got to buy that certificate, all of these different things. Now, you don't have no income coming in. What are you doing? You sitting dormant, waiting on somebody to come. If don't nobody never come, or you don't go outside and use your barber tools, you won't have no income coming in. But why you don't have no income? Because they distributed money the wrong way. Instead of giving it to the banks and making it a loan or a forgivable loan, if you do the right thing with, you should distribute straight to the 50 states and to the business department where we file the licenses at. Then let them distribute it down. It'll have made more sense, but who am I? You know, I'm somebody that's sitting back thinking about how it should have been distributed and not worried about, I'm EATing every day. I'm evaluating all things, man. This thing is bigger than you and I. You know, it's about the whole country. We got 300 million people in America. We make up 13% of that 300 million, 30 million people, and we don't have no plan and nobody's talking. Again, we're talking about 21 black-owned banks. One United Bank is the largest black-owned bank in America. Largest. They probably have 7, 8, 9 different branches or whatever. Man, that's minuscule compared to Chase Bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. That's minuscule. Man, we have to start to talk. We be talking black, but we not talking black. Talking black is mean pooling them resources together, pooling them funding. If you got funding, you can control your destiny. If you don't have any funding, you can't control anything. He who controls the money controls the world. We have to start talking. We got 21 black banks, right? We need to merge those banks, just like Chase merged. They merged with another company and bought them out and then created one big bank. They got the four big banks of America: Wells Fargo, Citigroup, Chase Bank. These Europeans sitting back saying, okay, well, we're going to control this money the best way we can. One United Bank, they can't do so much, but if we all come together, we can do a whole lot. Be mindful who you banking with. Right now, you and I might be banking with Chase. We can't go directly to Chase and get a personal loan. They say, oh, your debt to ratio don't match up with your income coming in. We can't give you no personal loan. We give you a credit card with $2,000 on it. Excuse my French, but what is that? That's small, man. We need to be able to purchase our own homes, be able to purchase a car, be able to purchase things that we can utilize for our livelihood. We can't do that waiting on them to be able to create stuff for us. We got to create stuff for ourselves. And the banking system is the most important thing that we need to create. And it has to be united. It has a united front and control. Man, we spent $13 trillion last year with other people. If we would have pooled up resources, that cash flow, we won't be worried about where the food gonna come from. How we gonna pay our bills. We don't know how we're gonna do it.
Yeah, you definitely present a lot of good points. One, I know you mentioned about distribution, about working together, doing for self, and the banking system. And let's talk about that distribution. How you were saying that the government would have been a good idea to distribute the money directly to the independent states and let the states govern that money accordingly. You're right. The program had been abused from bigger mainstream companies. Now, how did they get to a state of being considered a small business? that's something to discuss, to bring to the table. But that is a good idea. Distribute the money to the states, and that way allow the states to distribute the money to the local cities or the local parishes, and that way you have a more of a concentration where uh, the local body should know where the money should go.
Exactly.
The
Because they
big
got
banks,
the
they
business.
distribute the money to the bigger companies, but this is see, that's the mindset. The mindset of certain individuals in certain industries believe that small mom and pops are not vital in the community, so they distribute the money to the major businesses or the major corporations, and then allow them to funnel the money down. But that's the mindset. So we got to change that mindset.
The small mom and pops run all the cities. You know,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
in different cities, you only have a few major corporations anyway. The rest of the city is in mom and pop stores. You know, people, individual store owners, individual business owners. That they small, but it seems as though they are big, but they may not be. You see, and they
yeah.
funnel
I
the
mean,
money through the
they
community.
are, because 80% of people that are employed by small businesses.
Exactly.
Major
You know.
corporations employ about 20%, which the small businesses support those major corporations. But we are the bulk of employers as what you consider called a cooperative
Yeah.
agreement moving forward. Small businesses employ more people than anybody else. So that should be the direct concentration to reopening, getting the economy back up and running and churning again.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like again, co-ops. I remember the Nation of Islam had a co-op farming program where you pay a certain amount of dollars into the farming co-op, and you receive commodities, corn, potatoes, beans, rice, and it comes to right directly to your door. You think what I'm saying? They have so many acres of land that they provide. They build the agriculture business around so they can be able to provide to the community. And that's what we got to do instead of waiting on somebody to keep on doing for us. We got to do for self. And that program itself right there need to be looked at and say, okay, we need to design something around this and make it bigger so we can always have something in our community and not worry about anybody a food pantry feeding us. You know, these people, some of these people start these food pantries in these places just to have a 501c3 to be able to hide and shelter money. They're really not worried about the people. You see what I'm saying? So we got to figure it out, and we do that by looking at and observing what's going on in our community. You know, a lot of people hide money. They hide money through the 501c3s. I mean, we got to think bigger than that. We got to think community, co-oping, understanding what it is, and then be able to provide it for ourselves. Because
Yeah,
again, we're waiting on people to do for us what we can do for ourselves. And this can happen overnight. You know, the pandemic gonna be here. You know, it's gonna be always viruses that's gonna occur because some of this stuff is man-made. Again, we talked about tuberculosis being airborne. You know, we got cancer that's killing us every day. You see, these things, we're still waiting on them to figure out what's causing all these cancerous diseases. We ain't figured that out yet. And then they talking about we asymptomatic. A lot of us are asymptomatic to the COVID-19. They testing places. Man, we supposed to be going there. We supposed to be talking about this article that we had uh, about the prisoners.
mm-hmm.
That's in Louisiana, the women
Let,
prisoners.
us talk about that, but let me. I mean, you're throwing a lot on the table, and it's tough for us to
Okay, but I'm
digest
gonna
all
take
of
my
that.
time.
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna
it's
take my
tough for us to
time.
digest a lot. So let's get back on the banking system. I want to properly educate the community that's listening and say, hey, that money that's going to these banks after this second CARES Act that was re-signed about a week or so ago, that money, this is the time to go to the local banks if you are a viable business. And my understanding, the only way they're verifying that you are a business is through maybe your income tax, your business license. They're not checking credit or anything like that. They're just trying to make sure that there is a income that was filed or that you are in business in order, and this is through the PPP, payment
Yeah.
protection plan or whatever it is. So go to the banks, present them your paperwork. Now, through my history, that has been one of our, can I say, a downfall or shortcomings. We don't have the paperwork, and I call it business versus business. Business is that we're doing the trade. We're actually engaged in the trade, doing it, the actual physical labor. But when it comes down time to actually managing or running a business that produces a recurring source of revenue, and the money is going through the distribution stages of employees, of payroll, of labor, of supplies, products, we're actually engaged in it, but our downfall is the paperwork. For some reason, we become allergic, or for some reason, we have a challenge with paperwork. And that's fine. If you do, that's fine. That's why they have something called an accountant, CPA, or some type of business manager that can take care of that aspect of your business. But sometimes we want to stay it's not that we want to stay small. We don't want to become transparent and open up. So that way we stay at a certain level based on a cash approach. And that way you can produce, continue to provide for yourself and your family, or so, feed one or two employees. But we're trying to get to that next level where we can actually get to the stages of employing multiple people, so these multiple individuals can provide for their families. We got to get to that stage of innovation, of growing and actually running a business, and not just being about the business.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I like that concept. You say the business and the business approach to the thing. You got to understand too, B, that we lack education when it comes to doing business, being properly educated how business is run. You know, I had a social degree in business, right? And
You have?
I have
Right.
a social degree in business,
Right.
but I got that social degree while I was away, while I was
Quarantine.
quarantined in prison. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? So I had the business ideas, but doing business was totally different. You talking about going down to the city, acquiring a license to be able to do business transactions, going filing to the state, paying taxes. These things is totally different. If you got an employee, you got to pay 1.6% interest to the
Payroll.
government on the payroll, on the side where he can get Social Security. We don't know anything about that stuff. So we have to get somebody that's educated about that to come into your business and teach you the real concept of doing the business or the
But
paper.
I don't want to open up my books to show it to you, because now I'm giving you too much information.
No, information is good. Knowledge is the key to end all your woes, your ups, your downs, your highs, and your lows. That's a rap song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a rap song. But if we don't get the knowledge, we fail in what we're doing. That's why so many businesses fail in the first 3 years of starting the business, because they don't have the proper information to be able to sustain the business. You know, this thing is really simple and easy. But because I could take a guy that has $5 and start him a business, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. You see? And all I do is take that money and go buy some window washing spray, or a squeegee, and some newspaper, $3, and get $2 worth of business cards. And now you into a multi-billion-dollar industry, the window washing industry.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't see that as a multi-billion-dollar business, but it is. You see?
You make a good point, because I think I would pay someone $5 or $10 every week to really clean the windows of my vehicle every week. That is a tough skill set.
Exactly. But because we don't think of that as being a multi-billion-dollar business, we fall victim to what, I started a business. Why you ain't growing it? Because you don't understand the marketplace for it. You see what I'm saying? And once you start to understand the marketplace for the business, we grow. Just like banking. Man, we just really up from slavery. We got these ideas to create the bank. Let's merge these different banks. Let's talk about from state to state, city to city. You know, it's 50 states, untold cities. You see what I'm saying? Where We got a Liberty Bank in New Orleans, Louisiana. It's a black-owned bank. Why it's not in Monroe, Louisiana? Why it's not in Lafayette, Lake Charles, Appaloosas? These are all cities in Louisiana. Why it's not in Bastrop, Louisiana? Why that Liberty Bank is not covering that whole state? It's, the state has a large population of black people. You see, why that bank is not coexist in every city? But because we're not really doing business. We're not really doing business. We got business ideas, but the approach is totally different. We have to figure this thing out systematically and make it work for us as a people. We shouldn't be waiting on J.P. Morgan Chase to give us no money. We already got the money. You understand? That. We shouldn't be waiting on Bank of America. We already got the money. We spent $13 trillion last year. We could fund everything that we need to fund. From new farmers, agriculture, agribusiness. They don't call it agriculture. They call it agribusiness. Who producing the tomatoes of the world? Who producing cotton? We won't even produce cotton. We ain't going on no farm because we thinking about slavery. But in fact, we need to start producing cotton again, so we can make these T-shirts, so we can provide the masks. You see, if we're not doing that, because we ain't doing business, we doing small stuff. Everybody on my block got a barber shop. Everybody going to barber school. Everybody got a hairdresser, a shop. Man, it's bigger than that. What about who putting them pineapples on your table? Where you get them from? Who putting the bananas on the table? Chiquita banana. Man, they farming way in Brazil somewhere and shipping the bananas all over America. You see, that's how we have to start to think. We need distributors. We need distributors all across the country.
And producers.
And producer. Master P got a product. He's selling noodles. He's selling potato chips. How do you get the product to the stores?
The bagging, the printing.
How you do all this? This is another big business for somebody like you and me that's call themselves mom and pop guy. We used to deliver newspapers. We had 20-something stores. They need product. You see what I'm saying? So we put product in their store. Now that's a route for us. Go back and pick up the money when it's sold. But because we thinking small, we ain't thinking big. That's a big business, $1 billion industry.
Especially from the individuals that come from I'm just speaking on behalf of my experience. People that are in my community that end up becoming incarcerated, focusing on a product in the dope business because they believe they understand that business. But you just broke it down. It get back to the basic of any business. It comes to manufacturing, distribution, transportation, no matter what the product is. We could take some of them business owners, them entrepreneurs, explain to them that industry that you're currently in is a failing industry. So now you need to evolve, get into it, like you talking about the fruits, growing them, importing, the distribution, the transportation, because in transportation, you have fuel costs, you have accounting, you have tires, you have a lot of maintenance that has to be done, hitting down the road, going to the stores. It's a business. We got to get to that stage of changing the products that we're pushing and start focusing on building a legacy, building an enterprise. Because if we don't, we get to the stage of being depressed. As we start being depressed, now we get into the ailments of PTSD, the mental health, post-traumatic stress, because we believe that our hands are handcuffed, but we are only handcuffed through our own subjectiveness, because we say we can't do it, but in actuality, in your past history, we have run businesses. We believe that's the only business that we can operate, because unfortunately, Brother Marcus, when you and I, not specifically us, but people that are in our situations, we work in the community, work for people in the community. Then as we make $1 or $2 more, now we move out of the community. So we no longer become those role models for people in our communities.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you mentioned that about the guys that selling dope or use that as a product to be able to create finance. Right. But in actuality, they'll end up in prison or dead. But
due to that
again,
system.
due to that system, again, that's a form of mental illness. Like you talked about the mental illness, but that's the DSM-4 talks about selling drugs or the use of drugs being a mental illness. It's two forms of mental illness. It's any mental illness, and it's SMI, severe mental illnesses. And we suffer from all of it. We suffer from the AMI and the SMI. And selling drugs is a form of any mental illness. You know, the use of it, all of this, it's a form of mental illness. We trying to sell it and use it as a product to be able to generate cash flow. And most of the time, they end up using the drug that they sell. So it's a form of mental illness. We think we getting rich. It's a get quick rich scheme, but they perpetuate that for us. Oh yeah, become the big dope boy. You know, Rick Ross or and all the different people that American Gangster, you know, that sold drugs, fairy tale stuff. That none of them retired, rich, famous. You know, most of them end up in jail, dead or broke. You understand? See, I was a product of that environment. You know, I went to prison for 10 years, ultimately for 10 years for selling drugs. You understand? Thinking that I had me a get rich quick scheme, but I didn't understand that I was mentally ill in a sense, because we don't get tested or diagnosed about mental illnesses in our community. You know, and that's what we don't think about, the issues or the things that we doing before we do it. We just get involved.
Because it becomes a behavior. You know,
learn behavior.
Exactly.
Learn behavior. And when you see your partner selling drugs, he look like he getting some funding out of it. You say, "Oh man, show me how to do that." And you show him how to do it. Now you ain't no pharmacist for real. You selling coke, for methazine, you know, weed, all this stuff that got all these different chemicals in it, and you poisoning your people. Man, you got guys that smoke what they call in our neighborhood wet daddy, you know, sherm sticks. Man, these dudes get butt naked and run in the middle of the street, and you tell me that ain't no mental illness?
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's out of your mind at that particular time. But see, when you start to look at the DSM-4, it's called a Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. See, the European know that it's a mental illness. That's why they said that drugs and alcohol is a form of mental illness. So they started putting programs together. Alcoholics Anonymous. It's on a 501(c). They using this as a form to generate cash flow. Heroin addiction. They using this as a form of generating cash flow, providing a little help. What they got inpatient and outpatient diagnosis, and they're using counselors set up to talk about the issues in their community, not in ours. You see, man, we need the inpatient outpatient thing going on in our community. Man, you got these guys drinking for methazine. They putting Sprite in the cup with some cold medicine. You understand?
What is it?
For methazine. They putting it. They call it syrup. They putting the Sprite in the cup, and they double cupping it, but they don't understand the severeness of what can happen to their bodies using this stuff. Putting Sprite on something and drinking it, saying yeah, and then they perpetuating that to the younger generation. Everybody coming up double cupping. You see them?
They become the role models in the community.
Yeah, but these are this our future. 18 to 29-year-old guys ain't being taught how and what the severeness of the mental illnesses that they occurring because of the use of drugs. They not being taught that, you know. They ain't in no counseling. And when they go to jail, they don't even talk about it. DSM-4 mental illness. They just send them to jail, give them 10 or 15 years. End up now where like people, or the women are incarcerated in St. Gabriel. They testing them for COVID-19. Me and them in Hunts and Wade and Angola, they wearing masks, talking about 6 feet separation, social distancing. Man, they can't social distance in no prison. It's compact. It's you in a cage with 1,500 people or 1,100 people, or dorm with 300 people in it. 2 men to a cell. How you on social distance? You see? And then most of them incarcerated for non-violent crimes. This don't make any sense, but because we not thinkers, we not EATing, we not evaluating all things, so we letting this stuff just happen in a vacuum. And we don't pay no attention to it, so one of our people get caught up in it.
Man,
but
you bring up a great point. The more I'm sitting back listening to you, and at my age, I have to get to the stage of where I have to unlearn what I've learned in the past, because I've been programmed to think and act in a certain manner until I became mature enough to start thinking and learning and reacting on my own free will and accord. But you made a very valid point. I'd like to get back to that, the mental illness in our community through learned behavior. Sometimes we see the local role models in our community creating a revenue stream, and we in our community, because we see money coming from it, we don't think of it as being illegal. We look at it as just being a revenue stream. In actuality, it may be an illegal act, and through the illegal act, there are systems currently in place to perpetuate the incarceration of an individual, outside of just being a mental incarceration, but also a physical incarceration, and ultimately lead to a death sentence that you're talking about, this COVID situation where a person can become arrested for a nonviolent offense, and because they cannot pay a bond to bond out, now they've been sentenced to a death sentence because they're locked up in a cage with limited movement, and now they catch this disease, this illness, and now they no longer return home. So we are suffering from mental health, mental illness in our community, and we have to get to the stage of re-educating our people in our communities. So, and it's not an easy feat, it's difficult. But you made a very valid point about the mental illness. I never looked at it that way. I mean, people just believe that this is how such and such down the road is getting money. Wow. Now I can enhance that way of getting money now. And now they steadily stay within that parameter of the criminal justice system. We got to figure a way out.
Oh yeah, I was in that mindset. I was a young dude, 16 years old, coming up in the street and decided to sell drugs. But I didn't know it was. I didn't consider it was mental. I thought I was gonna be able to get rich, and
provide for yourself, provide for your family.
And I did. I made some money in it. But ultimately, it killed everything that I was doing. I mean, I lost my family by being incarcerated. Sometimes it can really destroy you mentally, even though I survived because I went in and I did something different. I educated myself to the system and everything around me. I ate every day, evaluated all things every day. I eat every day. So I was studying. Nearly 1 in 5 individuals in America had some form of mental illness, and selling drugs is one of the most severe ones in the world, but they're not talking about it. See, the European or the European man, he takes that and make him a business out of it. When we were selling weed, joints, that's how I started off selling weed and stuff. Now they done took that from the illegal drug trade and made it a big business, $1 billion industry.
Medical.
Like people like Rick Ross that went to jail for selling coke and weed. Now he's becoming a face for the weed industry. Mm-hmm. They gave him a storefront. He's able to now sell weed legally.
Right.
But they did that on purpose to make him seem like, oh, that's Rick Ross. He's selling weed now. He got his own store. This is what I want to do. I want to be a drug pusher. You know what I'm saying? But not understanding that this stuff is detrimental to the brain. It's killing us, man. So, but we not into the DSM-4. We're not talking about no diagnostic statistical manual. We're not talking about that because we make up a smaller percentage of psychologists a drug uh what they call them I can't think of the name. It's slipping my mind right now. But we make up a small percentage of those who going to school for for uh, for mental health. We make up a small percent. But when you look at it, it's a big industry. It's doing business.
Yeah, you're right. I
It's
mean,
doing
we
business. So
have
it's
social workers
helping
out
your
there, we have
community.
psychologists, we have applied behavior out there, and you're exactly right. And we're just and let's take what you're saying that years ago, marijuana being illegal. Now, as time progressed, now marijuana is is legal because of medical purposes, and people have been taking it for so-called medical conditions for forever in order to mellow out, in order to
Yeah.
relax their body. The same reason people took it then, the same reason people take it now, because of a system that was created, put it in place. Now it's become so-called legal versus the illegal, and we have to get to the stages of identifying that and create a business and get away from the business of it strictly. Well, Brother
Go ahead.
Marcus, you present so much good information. We're going to focus more, because this is the month of May, focus on mental illness. And I never looked at it like that. We're going to break down some more crimes that people are being arrested for, nonviolent offenses, and see, are those related to being, mental illness in our community? Because I mean, let's think about people that have challenges in their lives. They go out and indulge in alcohol and then overindulge in it, just in order to relieve themselves or get away from that original mindset.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a major form of mental illness. They call it alcoholics. That's why they got the Alcoholics Anonymous classes. These people set up a business with this particular. At one point, you couldn't purchase liquor, uh, and it was illegal in the system. Then they made it a business. Now you got liquor stores on every corner, especially in the black community. You got liquor stores on every corner. So, and here in Virginia, uh, they own the state own all the liquor stores. Ain't no private entities. The state own them.
I
They
remember you
got
mentioned
lines
that
wrapped.
last week. I don't
They
understand
got
that.
lines wrapped around the business, wrapped around the building to go inside with the COVID-19 thing going on. They got masks on. They waiting to get the liquor. People spending their money still on the liquor because it's a mental illness. I gotta have it. Man, you see people with nervous conditions from drinking. That's a form of mental illness. You know, it's a diagnosis there somewhere. I told you it's two forms of this thing: serious mental illness and any mental illness. And you have to be diagnosed through somebody who has studied from the DSM, that's a psychologist or a doctor of mental health. You see what I'm saying? But we're not talking about it in our community because we don't understand it. So, not only that, man, the lower portion of this thing is being aimed at women. They 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 get the mental illness more more so than men. They had a large percentage versus the men, but they get treatment more often than men too, because men say, well, I ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm good. When in fact, man, you sick. But we scared to admit that we sick, you know. We sick when we don't even establish our own protocol for ourselves. When we don't provide anything for ourselves, that's a sickness right there. You know, we talking about we suffer from depression, anxiety. No, we suffer from 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 knowing who we are. That's our biggest suffering. Knowing that we created industry, we created agribusiness, we created all these things because before us there was nobody. You understand? But that's a larger picture. I can't paint that picture there right now. But
No, you've done a
you
great
know,
job painting the picture, and we're going to
yeah,
touch more on it next week, focusing on mental illness, because this is the month of May. This is Mental Health Month, and overall, I mean, the way you conveyed it, it has me thinking, as men, why don't we go to the doctors, check on our health? Is it a form of mental illness that we are in denial of it, or we
yeah,
afraid of the doctor? So there's a lot we have to sit back and look at, because also mental illness in our community, we see people get arrested, see the police ramshacking a person's house, and we don't call and inquire to the police captains or the media, say, hey, this is not norm. This is not normal for people to be treated this way. But we accept it as a learned behavior, and we say that that's the way it's supposed to be. I mean, there's a mental illness.
We got traumatic stress syndrome every day in our community. Man, somebody gets shot right in front of your door. Yeah. You step over them. That's just like being in the army. The dudes is coming home from the army. They come home from the war. They getting them postpartum. You know, it's saying that they don't seen too much bloodshed. We see this every day, but because we not aware or conscious of it, it become a norm in our society. You know, Crips and Bloods fighting. These black dudes fighting each other over nothing.
Yeah, we normalize it.
Yeah, we normalize all this stuff. But when in fact this is a form of mental illness. But we just don't. Again, we're not talking diagnostics. We're not talking about the statistical manual. We're not talking about it.
Well, it's because we so focused on something being diagnosed as a clinical illness, and the bottom line, we have to get to the grassroots of it and say, hey, it's an illness.
You don't got to always take medicine, though. That's why they got inpatient counseling, outpatient counseling. It's all just having conversation, man. You know, just like the dudes get out of prison, they should have a think tank for the guys that get out of prison, right? They get out of prison and sit down with each other about the issues that they had in prison and out of prison, about being able to find a job. You know, a think tank helps you talk about your issues so you won't go back and say, I'm gonna go rob me a bank because I ain't got no money. Nah, man, we can do something together to prevent that. I can help this guy down the street. He has some work. You can make $10 an hour, $15 an hour working with him. That'll prevent you from going do an armed robbery or commit some crime. Like again, we talked about the sisters in St. Gabriel that being tested. It's 119 people was tested for COVID-19 in St. Gabriel. It's ironic that this prison is named after the angel Gabriel, but they said it's named after St. Gabriel, Louisiana. But the angel is the archangel that was talking about the issues that were going on in the Bible. But how you got these young ladies for nonviolent offenses incarcerated, now possibly can lose their life? No, the reason why they're probably incarcerated because of drug usage and prostitution is the highest form of incarceration in the state of Louisiana. It's crazy. If nobody is talking about they need help, they need help. They don't need incarceration. A woman out selling her body for a few dollars or for some drugs, she needs help. The man that's doing the same thing, he needs help. He don't need incarceration. He needs some mental counseling. He or she needs to be talked to about the severity of what they did, not punished because you created this system for them to fall victim to. You know, this thing is bigger than you and I, but because we're not paying close attention to it, we're not evaluating all things, we're not eating consistently. We're eating the wrong foods, man. We're eating bull crap. You know, we get the numbers from the foolish ones. We need to get the numbers from people that look like you and I, that's in the mental in the mental field, the physicians that's in that mental health field, that's talking about what's the numbers look like. Man, when I see people standing on a corner mumbling to themselves now, I think about it. Oh man, I wonder what happened, what traumatic issue that he or she go through to got them, you know, they got all their clothes on their back, that's everything they own, sleeping under a bridge. What happened? You know, what happened?
Homelessness.
Yeah, what happened? And then you got organizations that's doing business saying they represent homeless people. They ain't got no shelter for them. They putting the money in their pockets. We don't have homeless shelters. How many black dudes you know have a homeless shelter? Man, American Red Cross. Man, you see the people wrapped around the building outside of Monroe talking about they need somewhere to stay for the night and they don't have enough beds. Man, these people are sick. But because we're not involved in that, we're not providing for ourselves about the mental issues that's going on in our community, we're letting somebody else provide that. And we getting caught up in being afraid of dying from the COVID-19, but we're dying anyway.
Hey,
from all kinds of issues.
brother, you just shared a lot of information with us. Seems like you got a lot you need to share each and every week. So we're going to come back to this next week, speaking to the issues of criminal justice systems, speaking to the issues of mental illness, mental health in our own communities, and identifying, that's the major issue. How do we identify the illnesses that are in our community? Hey, I'm Brother Brian. He's Brother Marcus. Each and every week, we are together the voice of the community, airing here live on the radio on 106.7 FM KIEZ. And Brother Marcus, I'll give you the last few words to take us out.
Yeah, man, just keep listening, man. We at the round table, 106.7, man. It is what it is. You got to eat, man. Evaluate all things. You ain't doing that, you ain't doing nothing. You eating the wrong food. I'll holler at you, man. I'm out, Captain.
Talk to you next week.